All right, and we are back for another episode of the Department Podcast with Justin Valentovic, Stephen Clark, Joe Paolantonio, Jesse Norman. Before we get into it, we're talking about the NBA Conference Finals, the East and the West, the Clippers and the Nuggets, the Heat and the Celtics. Just a reminder, before we get into it, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, like on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and basically just subscribe to us on any audio platform. We're on Apple Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. But also, and if you want to, throw us little sponsorships here and there, we'll even advertise on our podcast for you. So make sure, if you're interested, hit us up on our email in the description below for sure. But guys, what's going on?
I'm chilling. We got basketball, baby. We got football. We got baseball. We got sports. We got sports, and it's all good sports. I'm very happy right now.
Yeah, good sports.
It's a lovely morning. I love the weather. It's a little fall touch.
Nice.
Razzle dazzle. It's nice. It's not too hot. It's not too chilly. A nice sweatshirt and shorts can get you through the day.
Happy we're gonna have that weather for probably a week.
Yeah,
it'll get beat back
enjoy
to it'll be hot right again then. So.
It'll either be really hot or it's gonna be like 40 degrees.
Yeah, at this rate, I think we're in store for a pretty cold winter here in the Jersey area, but. Down in Florida, we've got the NBA Conference Finals going on. Last night, the Nuggets snuck out a win 114-106 over the Lakers. Series now 2-1. For a while, it looked like it was going to be bleak for the Nuggets, go down 3-0, but they were able to fight back a little bit. And for a while, they were really blowing out the Lakers, and they rebounded really well considering, they had a devastating loss in Game 2 with an Anthony Davis game winner. So the series right now is 2-1. Are the Nuggets still in it?
The Nuggets are in it as long as Anthony Davis, JaVale McGee, and Dwight Howard continue to get bullied. They need to be better in the paint. They need to rebound better. Or no, this isn't gonna work for the Lakers. I mean, and also your boy, the golden child, the GOAT. He's got to be more aggressive. He's got to take it into his own hands. It's his team. Be the guy. Because Anthony Davis, the guy.
Yeah, no, I agree.
The guy hit the three-pointer to win Game 2. But tell me more about how he's.
They're very fortunate. They're very fortunate to hit that.
That was a hard shot to hit.
That was a hard shot.
It was a pretty good shot that they got.
But it was still very difficult, especially in that situation. And
great players make that shot.
Respect, he does, but Nuggets should be winning the series 2-1 right now, if we're being honest. I would be more concerned about the Lakers than the Nuggets going forward in this series because the Lakers have to get their stuff together, like Joe said, get their stuff together. And the Nuggets are young, they're hot, they're fresh. And I don't know if the Nuggets win Game 4, they're winning this series.
Well, and the thing is,
I'll say that right now.
If Mason Plumlee actually covered a screen properly and covered Anthony Davis rather than trying to go for a double team, this series could be 2-1 the other way.
That wasn't Plumlee's fault. Grant literally told him to help him double on LeBron. So Plumlee comes down to double LeBron, and then Grant didn't move on to Davis. So that was Jeremy Grant's fault in Game 2.
And that's the thing with the Lakers. When you have two clutch playmakers like LeBron and AD on the floor, you don't know who to guard in that situation. So that's just props to them for having both of them on the floor in a clutch situation like that. But I don't know. Yeah. I'd be a little scared if I was the Lakers, honestly. I'd be a tad scared.
I'm not scared if I'm the Lakers.
No?
At all. I'm sorry. I mean, I think Denver's a good up-and-coming team. Let me know when Jeremy Grant scores 26 points on 7 of 11 shooting again. Let me know when that happens. Let me know when Jokic only takes 14 shots and hits 9 of them. And let me know when Monte Morris goes 5 of 7 from the field.
I'm just saying, don't count him out. Don't count him out.
I'm not counting him out, but the Nuggets had their best performance through and through last night, had a 20-point lead, and the Lakers still almost won the game. And as far as LeBron's aggression, he took 23 shots and had a triple-double. I'm not really worried about LeBron or Anthony Davis.
If we're being honest, like the West Series and the East Series is very similar. Like the way, like not the team, not the players and all that, but like the way the games flowed, like the leads being like coming back and all that stuff. They're very, very similar. Like It's interesting basketball. Very
They're both
interesting.
of the series are back and forth basketball where either team can go on a run and close the gap extremely fast.
For sure.
Yeah. My main critique of the Lakers has been my main critique of the Lakers. JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard should not be playing 22 combined minutes. They should probably be paying like 10, and it should realistically only probably be Dwight Howard. There's no excuse that Anthony Davis is not the starting center. There's no excuse for him to not be playing the 5 full time. Out of his 43 minutes, only 21 of them last night were at the center position. That's half.
Yeah, and he should especially be playing the 5 in this series too, because in my opinion, honestly, this is the top 2 centers in the league, the top 2 5s in the league in this series. You got Jokic and you got Anthony Davis. That's a matchup. That's just a perfect matchup right there. He should not be playing anywhere else on the floor, and that just makes no sense if you ask me. Makes no sense.
Yeah, that's my biggest critique of all this is they rebounded horribly. I mean, they rebounded so bad. And it's like, if you have Howard and McGee out there and they're not getting you rebounds, quite literally, what are they out there for?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not too worried about the Lakers. I think they could afford to lose this one. It really and they still almost won it after having one of their worst games and the Nuggets having, I would say, what is their best put together performance.
And the Nuggets the past 2 series have been the comeback kids, the comeback, force Game 7, win it in Game 7 of each series. How far do you actually see this going? Because, the Lakers could easily rattle off 2 in a row and then the series is done in 5. Could you see Jamal Murray and, Jokic willing their way to Game 6, Game 7?
Definitely 6.
No.
I think it'll be 6.
I think it'll be 6 too.
I think I as much criticism as you can have for the Lakers, down the stretch in the fourth quarter of this game, their backs up against the wall, the Lakers turned it on. There was the coaching adjustments. I mean, and it's the fact that they are probably a more complete 5 than the Nuggets 5. And I think the Lakers now are really focused in the zone. I don't really think they were that
It went up 2-0 really barely, just shredding water.
Yeah.
Relatively easily. If they switch to the zone defense that they played down the stretch in Game 3, I think the series is over. They let the Nuggets get into it. They let them win a game. I still have these concerns about Davis, about LeBron, but they're better than the Nuggets. They still are. And I think that even the Nuggets win, I'm not too convinced. I'm not too convinced at all. They had a chance to shut them down, to really put the dagger in it, and it took them until 55 seconds left in the fourth quarter to actually end the game.
When they had a 20-point lead.
Exactly. In the game, they had a 20-point lead. I don't think the Nuggets are this juggernaut. I really don't. And it's a shame, but I do believe that the Lakers are going to shoot better. I mean, this was the worst 3-point shooting game they've had so
6
far.
of 26.
Disaster.
That's not gonna happen again.
So then at that point, is it almost an experience for the Nuggets or just the skill of the Lakers so much better then?
They're not there yet.
The Nuggets, the Nuggets.
They shouldn't
with
be here
this
either.
young team. They need to take those hits. They need to go from second round to the Western Conference Finals. They need to understand the playoff basketball, and they understand it pretty well. But you can see that giving up that 20-point lead kind of plays into the fact of how young they are. In a similar way, I think they're another step ahead of the Mavericks. But the Mavericks did a very similar thing in the first round, where they were just a super young team, have to get their experience in the playoffs. And then I think now we're talking, next year, 2, 3, 4 years down the line, they're going to be contenders every year.
I will say that they need more. If Jeremy Grant is going to step up like this, it's very possible they can do something. I don't see it, but big if. big if Jeremy Grant somehow out of nowhere becomes the Fred VanVleet of 2020 and dominates big playoff games in clutch minutes. I don't see that happening, but the Lakers, I'm sorry, the Nuggets need something else. They need something else. Millsap, Harris, somebody else to do something.
Yeah,
Because
Millsap. Yeah.
it can't be just that dynamic duo and then Jeremy Grant steps in and has a big game and then we don't hear from him again.
Yeah, Millsap scoring 6 points is not going to do anything for this team. You're right, 100% right about that. I just don't want to count them out yet. I really don't, because I love this team. I love what they're doing. I love the young ball that they're playing. It's fun to watch. I just don't want to count them out until I see Game 4. That's a big test for the Nuggets, if you ask me. If the Nuggets win Game 4, it's a whole different series.
And
You're back at 0.
Yeah.
It's an even series and it's best of 3.
Exactly.
And we've seen it where the Nuggets can go on a run and win the 3 in a row that they have to win.
Yeah, the Nuggets can get hot in a flash. So
should be fun. Should be a lot of fun, for sure.
So then by this time next week, if necessary, Game 7 would be Wednesday of next week.
Oof.
Are we still talking about this series, or are we looking at the finals then?
We're looking at the finals. I think
Finals.
this series ends in 6.
We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out how good of a coach Mike Malone is. If this is going to a 7th game, Mike Malone is going to have to coach the games of his life. I don't think he will. I don't think they're going to find an answer. We'll see.
Yeah, I think they're too young. There's some pieces that they just don't match up particularly well with the Lakers. And again, if Davis plays. He plays 40 minutes and 35 of them are at the center position. I think the Lakers win. I just think the thing that is slowing the Lakers down is this insistence on Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee to give you minutes. I really think it's slowing them down.
I agree for sure.
Well, switching things over to basically the only other series that's going on now is the Eastern Conference Finals between the Heat and the Celtics. Game 4 tonight. We're actually recording it and dropping it on the day of. So that's the first. Heat are up 2-1. And this series has gone back and forth, basically, haymaker after haymaker, pretty much kind of like the Lakers and Nuggets series a little bit. So initially looking at it, does the series get tied tonight or does Miami go up 3-1?
If Miami goes up 3-1, it's over.
Yeah. No,
because there's no way Jimmy Butler would let them lose 3 in a row.
That's my biggest point.
Boston needs this win. They need to put everything into getting it 2-2.
And like you said, Boston needs this win, but the Heat are going to come out different because they got embarrassed basically in Game 3. They got embarrassed. They were not used to that in the playoffs. They only lost one other game in the playoffs besides this one. And Jimmy was not having a good game. Like, the thing with the Heat, they can have a bad game and still somewhat stay competitive against the Celtics, make the game from 20-point deficit to an 8-point deficit. That's the thing with this Heat team. But if the Heat are clicking on all cylinders, and the Celtics are too, it's a lot closer, and I think the Heat pull away if both teams are at the top of their game.
I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to be that easy for the Heat. The Celtics are getting back Gordon Hayward tonight. I don't know how big of a factor and how many minutes he will play, but the guy is going to have an effect on this game. He's going to add another dimension to the offense.
Well, he played last Game 3.
He's coming back. His return is going to change the series.
He played Game 3.
He wasn't really a factor.
Exactly. That's
if Brad Stevens draws up a bunch of plays for him, give it to Miami.
We've
seen what happens when Gordon Hayward returns from injury before and how much it helps.
Scored a whopping 6 points.
I think this is his return.
But the thing
is his big game.
With Gordon Hayward, we've seen
it
force feed him. The rest of the team significantly suffers, and the flow of the offense kind of just dies.
Yeah, people
got to get into the groove.
People literally disparaged Kyrie Irving for Brad Stevens trying to run an entire offense through Gordon Hayward.
I think tonight they're not running it through Gordon, but Gordon is going to make plays. He's making plays. Tonight is the night We circle it on our calendar. It's Gordon Hayward night.
I think
Gordon
it's
Hayward
I
night.
think it's Jimmy
I think
Butler night.
it's gotta be Jason Tatum night. It's gotta be, or maybe Kemba shows up finally.
Kemba
I don't
showed
think
up
that's gonna happen.
game 3.
Kemba loves to show up when games are already out of reach.
Yeah.
Kemba loves to hit that big 3 that makes the lead 18 instead of 15. I mean,
Yeah.
congrats, good for him. How
But-
about he hits a shot when it's
It
a tie
matters.
game?
I think it's Jimmy Butler night, if you ask me, because he's pissed. He's pissed off. He's the leader of this team, and he had a crappy game 3, and he's going to get his team together, and he's going to say, hey, we shouldn't be in this situation. We shouldn't be down by 20. We're in the Eastern Conference Finals for a reason. And I think they just need to feed the ball to him more often. He's playing like too passive, and he's just tossing the ball to Bam, and just take the shots. If you're open there, take the shots. Be a Kobe. Don't just sit to the side and don't do anything for this team. You're the star player. You got to do something.
I don't know if he can be the Kobe. I don't know if he has the ability.
He is of
But
that
he's
team.
be
Not
that
comparing
Kobe.
him to the skill set of Kobe in any way, but of the Heat team, he's the Kobe.
But also, he has better shooters around him, too, that he can defer to, like a Tyler Herro. Like, he doesn't necessarily have to always take this shot.
Then that should open Jimmy up. If someone's guarding Harrell on the wing, say, that should open Jimmy to drive to the basket, draw a foul, or just get an easy layup or dunk. He has to do more. He has to do more. It's not enough. He's not doing enough in game 3.
Yeah, the thing about Jimmy is going to be if he still gets the free throw calls, if he still gets the fouls, because last game he only took 6?
Yeah.
I think he only took 6 free throws. When they were winning and beating all those other teams, Jimmy was taking about 15 free throws a game.
Well,
if the refs are going to start swallowing the whistle some, Miami's going to need to start, Jimmy's going to have to start hitting some tough shots. He's not going to be able to just drive and get fouled. He's not going to be able to play that Harden style.
Well, I forgot what game I was watching, but they had a stat where 68% of his shots come from like inside the paint, almost near the restricted zone now. So
yes, he doesn't shoot threes.
No.
He knows he's not a good three-point shooter.
well, that's the thing though. If he's not getting those calls, majority of his points in his game is taken away then.
But when the game matters, you see Jimmy Butler taking those threes, and 7 times out of 10, he knocks them down.
Well, and that's what you want from a supermax player.
Exactly. Yeah. No, for sure. But I don't know. He has to have a good game. He has to have a really good game. It just has to click on all cylinders for both teams, honestly, for them to win. If one of your star players has an off game, it's going to hurt them. That'll hurt them a lot. Say if Marcus Smart is an off game, it's going to hurt the Celtics. If Bam Adebayo has a bad game, it's going to hurt the Heat. But the Celtics drove in against the Heat, too, a lot in game 3. That was a big problem. That needs to stop for the Heat. Heat need to drive in. They have to flip switches, honestly. But
yeah, no, the Heat need to they need to drive in to set up their threes.
Exactly.
When they're trying to set their threes up with drive, like by, just off the rip and then trying to set up the drive, it's not going to work.
no.
They took 44 threes against Boston and only made 12.
Yeah.
And I believe Crowder and Dragic both were – Crowder was 2 of 10 and Dragic was 1 of 5.
Not good.
And
Can't have that.
I mean, out of the 12 for 44, Duncan Robinson was 4 of 8. So take that out, and that's how bad the Heat shot. But it's not a thing of, with the Lakers where it's, they're not going to shoot that bad again. It's, if they're forcing the 3 and taking all these shots and Jimmy's not getting the foul calls, they could have a problem. And something I just want to touch on, because I think it was talked about way too much as a big move. Andre Iguodala is not that good.
He hasn't
He's not the same.
Let's be real. He hasn't been the same. Joe,
No.
you watched the Warriors last year. Look at me and tell me Iguodala was serviceable.
Iguodala has not been serviceable since about 2017, maybe early 2018.
And there's still this idea that, he's a lockdown. If you put Iggy on LeBron, he's going to lock him down. That's not –
I just think it's the threat of having them out.
Well, it's
out
also
there. That's the only thing.
Also the morale boost of having a guy with significant championship pedigree outside of Spoelstra, being there, especially now in the high-pressure situations.
If he's not playing in the high-pressure situations and he's not playing well, I don't think that matters.
He played 7 minutes in game 3.
He's just a threat. It's just someone else for someone to guard. That's all he is.
But
That's
is
all
he?
He is.
If
He is.
you're telling me right now, though, if I could have Justice Winslow on this team or Andre Iguodala,
I'd take Iggy.
oh, you're wrong.
I'd
Okay,
take
Kellerman.
Iggy.
You're wrong.
Winslow is not that good, if we're being honest.
Who's
Winslow
afraid of
in a-
Andre Iguodala?
What was that?
I'm apparently Eric Spoelstra because he only played him 7 minutes.
Who on the court?
I mean,
Yeah. I'll take Iguodala just for the veteran presence and the veteran leadership of the team. Like,
yeah, but if he can't play, like he
the
played
Heat
7
bench
minutes.
is already stacked enough. You don't need him to play 20 minutes.
He
Who's
played
more?
7 minutes in game 2 and didn't record a stat.
Is
That's
he?
fine.
Is he as
Oh, excuse me,
ineffective?
1 assist.
I'll just let you go. Is he as
I mean-
is he as ineffective as almost Gordon Hayward or Kemba Walker at times, if not more?
I would
He's
say like Kemba.
way more ineffective.
You're comparing, someone who's washed to two guys who actively
Washed
are-
is an overstatement now. He's not washed.
He's
He's not the same,
He's
but
done.
he's not washed. He's not
but
done.
two guys who are versatile parts of what the Celtics are going to do tonight against a guy who played 5 minutes. It's not even.
Well, that
it's
should show
not
how
even-
good the Heat is that you're comparing the best Celtics guy to the Heat's bench.
That should say something about Justin Valentovic's framing of the question because that's absolutely ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. And this narrative that Kemba and Gordon Hayward are scrubs is a little disrespectful.
Kemba's more of a scrub than Gordon, I'd say.
Well, Gordon can't stay healthy, and when he does, Brad Stevens force feeds him the entire offense.
And they
and
win.
Kemba-
They win when he's healthy.
Not because of him, though.
They haven't won anything of any substantial value with Gordon Hayward healthy.
He scored
Last
a
time,
whopping
the
6
literally
points.
the last time Gordon Hayward was super healthy, they got bounced, and then Kyrie Irving left. That's what happened the last time Gordon Hayward was significantly
Who
healthy.
got the blame? Was
Kyrie
it
Irving.
Gordon? It was Kyrie.
Yeah, Gordon Hayward is exempt from all blame apparently because his leg went
It's
snap
'cause
about
he's
4
white.
years ago.
It's because he's white.
Now, here's the thing how I see it. If the series gets tied tonight 2-2, I'm looking at also coaching. And quite frankly, Miami has such a better coach in big game scenarios than Boston does. Eric Spoelstra is far and away a better coach than Brad Stevens.
He's
Don't
a
think
better
that's
coach.
fair.
I don't know if it's far and away. Eric Spoelstra's championship pedigree. He's a veteran. Brad Stevens. I mean, look at him. The guy looks like he's our age out there. It's not like he has gotten a lot out of what he has had the last 3 years. This is
Yeah.
Brad Stevens we're talking about.
Mhm.
And I mean, if you get Tatum, Brown, Walker, Marcus Smart, Gordon Hayward all clicking offensively, all doing something to contribute offensively, the Heat are not going to be able to defend it.
I disagree.
It's just not going to happen.
The Heat have perfect matchups for almost all of those players. You talk about Brown, Tatum, Smart. You got Hero. You got Butler. You got Bam. You got Duncan Robinson who can shoot the three. You have perfect matchups with these two teams. That's why this series is so good. They're very evenly matched. Yes, they might have a future MVP, Jason Tatum on the Celtics, but they're very evenly matched. And back to the Brad Stevens thing, he's a good coach, but I think he's severely overrated as a coach. Severely. He does some dumb moves late in games. He's not what people say he is, but he is a good coach. I'll give him that. He's a great coach, but Spoelstra is like a mile ahead of him, I'd say.
Yeah, there were people who crowned Brad Stevens way too early, and I've always been critical of them. But let's still not get it mixed up. Brad Stevens is still probably a top 5 coach in the NBA.
Yeah, 5'10". Yeah, I agree.
He's definitively up there,
Yeah.
especially with the things that he's gotten out of the team that has been put in front of him. But he does make some dumb mistakes. He doesn't play Robert Williams enough. He plays way too much through Gordon Hayward at certain times. He doesn't let Jaylen Brown take nearly enough of the offense at certain points when Tatum's not having a great game. He also lets Kemba take too much leash when he's not having a good game. So there are knocks on Stevens, but Spoelstra's not a perfect coach as well.
Well, for
And
sure.
Miami, neither of these teams are perfect. The thing is, I think a lot of the series hinges on a lot the difference for me is, and why I think Boston can really win this series, is Miami is at its most dangerous when the refs are favoring Jimmy Butler and when the refs are kind of helping them, where I don't think Boston needs that help. And that's not a knock. I mean, Houston almost beat Golden State. Houston could have beat Golden State, back in the day when the refs were on Harden's side and giving him those calls. It all depends on whether you think there should be more physicality in playoffs, whether you think there should be more free throws in playoffs because there's fouls more. It all depends on what you think. Some refs say it's playoffs, let them play. Some say, this is still the game of basketball. So the Heat still have some extenuating circumstances and it's worked so far. They need Jimmy to get to the free throw line at least 10 to 12 times a game. They need him to, and they need to hit their threes. It's not that hard of like an equation to win, but when that happens, they win. Boston just needs their guys to just play well. Like that's it. They have such a talented team that if they just play well, they can play with anybody any given night.
Shooting well against the Celtics sounds a lot easier than it is. I mean, they don't really allow opposing teams to get on fire with their shooting. They have the best perimeter defender, I would say, in the entire league. And probably the top three defender in Marcus Smart in the entire league.
They have the best defense in the league, basically.
I'm saying they have the best defense definitely remaining in the bubble, but I mean, in the entire league, it's tough. And I mean, you do have a great point right there about how Jimmy Butler needs the referees to bail him out. But the problem is Brad Stevens, he can love him as a coach, but you can't have your team falter when Spoelstra just throws zone defense at you. You cannot have your entire offense just collapse. I don't know what happened. I don't know but I trust Brad is the thing. I trust Brad to make the adjustment late in the series. I do.
Yeah, it's going to be a game of coaching, and it's going to be on every game at this point in the conference finals is also a game of refereeing. We've seen it before that referees completely swing a series based on how they call it. Yeah. And the first two games, they felt like they were a lot more okay with blowing the whistle. And then in game 3, they kind of swallowed it a little bit more. So if they come out in game 4 and they're calling fouls right away, then it's going to favor Miami. They're really good at making their free throws as a team, not even just Butler. Just as a team, they're really well disciplined in that.
Very good.
But if the refs are going to swallow the whistle more, I mean, that could also benefit Miami if they play more aggressive defense, because Miami's also, I would say, probably the second best defensive team. I mean, these are probably the two best defensive teams going up against each other, while in the Western Conference, you have the two best offensive teams. So, well, I mean, we'll see what happens, but as of right now, if the Celtics win tonight, give me the Celtics. But if Miami wins, Butler smells that blood in the water. And I don't think Jimmy Butler is a player that would allow them to come back from 3-1.
Yeah, whoever wins tonight is basically winning the series, if in my opinion. Obviously, the Heat are up 3-1 if they win tonight. But if the Celtics win, it's a whole new ball game. It's a whole new series. But I'll take the Heat tonight. I'll take the Heat, obviously. I'm not going to go against them.
I'll go against them. I got the Celtics winning. It's going to be another close game, but you can't argue with the fact the Celtics have been on top basically every time you turn on the TV against them, and if they end up being tied at 2, it would still be a little bit of a how is this happening?
If the Celtics win tonight, it's 7 games. If Miami wins tonight, it's done. Next game it's over. That's how I see it. And
if Miami wins tonight, I still think Boston would possibly play
another game. They might take another one. They might.
But I don't think. Yeah, no, I don't think Boston could go down 3-1 and still come back.
Well, those are the East and West matchups for the conference finals. But last bit before we wrap up, real quick, late last night, sort of, Billy Donovan got hired as Chicago Bulls head coach. it's news, not big news. Doesn't move the needle a little bit. Definitely an upgrade for them. Maybe he can get a little more out of marketing. I don't know. It's not a bad move though. I don't think.
And Billy Donovan's a good coach. He's a
He's a good rebuilding coach.
Yeah, I do. While I still do think Atkinson was the better option for Chicago. I mean, I think that was a match quite literally made in heaven, was Chicago and Atkinson. But Donovan's a good coach. We'll see. I think we've established him much better as a rebuilding coach than as a championship coach that he was supposed to be when he was brought into the Thunder. Because he was brought in to be after Scott Brooks for Durant and Westbrook.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen how that went after the 3-1 lead. And then he got really pushed down. And some people said he needed to be fired. But I think he's a solid coach. It's good for Chicago. They haven't had a real coach since Tibbs, and Tibbs wasn't a real coach his past 2 years in Chicago.
Tibbs.
So good for them. They got a real NBA head coach for the first time in a while.
Yeah, happy for him. Good hire. Very good hire. I like it.
Joe, what do you think?
No, you got to get probably, if not one or two, but one of the best developmental coaches they possibly could have gotten. And I mean, we're talking about a guy who, no matter really who's been on the Thunder roster, they've had winning seasons. I mean, I can't remember the last time the Thunder were completely garbo. I mean, Billy Donovan knows how to handle young up-and-coming talent. That's it.
Yeah, well, that's all we got for this episode of the Department Podcast. Make sure you listen to on Friday when we talk about the baseball playoffs. Saturday, we'll have our predictions for Clash of Champions. And then Sunday night, we'll be recording our reaction to the Clash of Champions pay-per-view. So that means then football will be pushed to drop on Tuesday morning after Monday Night Football between the Chiefs and the Ravens. So that actually kind of worked out really nice that we get to talk about that game then. So, Clark, where can everyone listen to those?
Yeah, I got to thank the listeners, first of all. Thank you guys for listening so much to the podcast. We do appreciate it. We love hearing your feedback from all this. We love seeing that you guys like to interact with us on TikTok and all that stuff. And there's one guy on TikTok that always comments. So thank you for always commenting and giving your opinions on our stuff. But like Justin said, you can follow us and subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Leave a 5-star review. Tell us your favorite part, like I just said. Follow us on our social media pages on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram at @department_pod. We have a stacked week, like Justin said. Everything's getting changed up a little bit. Clash of Champions, MLB, NFL, all that's coming this week. So stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next episode.